I just want to quickly explain to you how I was able to get a $10,000 personal loan with bad credit. And so I'll really tell you the story, also the steps that I took. And one thing I realized throughout the whole process is that if you're looking for a 10 grand or 5 grand of personal loan, but you have poor credit, you have to be really careful about the lender you're speaking to, right? So, because when it comes to loans, you have banks, you have traditional banks, you have credit unions, you have online lenders, but you also have alternative lenders. A lot of folks really forget about alternative lenders. Okay, the thing is, when you think about getting a loan, you're thinking about, oh well, I'm going to Citi, or I'm going to Wells Fargo, I'm going to Bank of America, or I'm going to Navy Fed, I'm going to Penn Fed, but you also have, or I'm going to Upgrade or Upstart. Those are online lenders, but you also have a series of alternative lenders, and they will be willing to actually talk to you if you have the profile they're looking for. See, the whole thing is it's not about the bad credit you have. If you're trying to get a $10,000 personal loan with bad credit, it's not about your credit, your ability to repay, and also your finances. In other words, do you have a job? Do you have a business? Okay, because bad credit just means that you've done a few things in the past, or something happened to you that really made you have a poor credit, or maybe you never had a credit in the you never had a credit score in the first place. In other words, you have no credit, right? So they want to make sure that you have the ability to actually pay, and also you have the financial profile that will make sure that you are going to stay that way for a long time. But one thing I want you to understand here is that be ready to pay to pay like a very high APR. That's one thing that I really thought about when I really went into this whole thing. I knew I was going to pay 20 to 30% because I knew my credit score was around 400. So I knew that I would be getting APRs around 25% or 30% if I was lucky. So that's something I want you to really pay attention to. Just know that they're gonna really give you like a very high APR, and also they want to make sure that you have a job. That you have a job. You gotta have a full time job. You can't be like, oh, I'm having a 2 or 3 or 4 part time jobs. No, you need to have a solid full time job. So the thing is that when I was trying to really get a 10,000 personal loan, I mean, when I started, I was thinking about 5 grand. I was thinking between 5 to 15 grand. But I said, you know what? Let me just go to a sweet average, and the average was 10 grand. Okay. So what I did was, first of all, I have a job. I have a full time job. So that's number one. Number two, my financial profile is way better than it was 10, 15 years ago when this whole thing happened, file for bankruptcy, all that kind of stuff. Because I went through a divorce, all that kind of stuff. But long story short, we're not here to really tell you my story. But I wanted to really, I thought about where to get a $10,000 personal loan. Like I said, you do have the lender that you're choosing to get a personal loan is going to be very important. That's something that I knew right off the bat. So was I able to go to my personal? I mean, I bank with Wells Fargo, but also Truist, right? I know. I said no. I'm not going to really go to a bank with poor credit. Like banks, they don't want to hear from you if you are around. If you're not above 650 or 600, they're not gonna. They don't want to hear from you, right? So I said, you know what? I can't go to Truist. I can't go to all those banks. And I also have a credit union. And I said, you know what? I mean, PenFed is kind of cool as a credit union, but if you have a very low credit score, they're not going to really pay attention to you. So what I did was I started looking at two things. I started looking at online lenders, and I started looking at alternative lenders. Now, online lenders, you have what I call a hierarchy of online lenders, right? So you have the let's say the posh ones, the elite, if you will. That's SoFi. SoFi can really give you a maximum of $100,000. Okay, but SoFi, their requirements are a little strict. I mean, SoFi stands for social finance when they started. Okay, but it's just one of those things where it wasn't really the right mix for me. Okay, so that in the elite of online lenders, you have SoFi, the big ones, and then you have the ones that will take care of you if you have poor credit. I'm speaking about Avon. I'm speaking about One Main Financial. So I went to Avon. I started targeting Avon and One Main Financial to get the 10,000 personal loan. Okay, and I knew that I was going to be lucky with Avant because even though they're going to slap me with a huge amount, a huge APR, I will still be getting my 10 grand. The thing with One Main Financial is that One Main Financial, they give you, I mean, they probably will approve you, but they don't really give you that much. I mean, they're not really that generous, but Avant is. So that's something to really think about. So if you want to get a 10 grand personal loan with bad credit, think about the likes of Avant. One thing I realized as I was trying to go through my journey to get a $10,000 personal loan with bad credit was that, interesting enough, Citi wanted to really give me a chance too. The funny thing is, Citi is a traditional bank, right? But Citi really values relationships. So if you have a good relationship with Citi, and like if you've been banking with them for many years, like 20 years or 15 years, and they see that you have a steady income, they'll give you a chance even though you have bad credit. So Citi wanted to give me a chance because but Citi, the thing is that Citi, their requirements were too much. They wanted you to produce tax returns. They wanted to produce your pay stubs, your bank statements. They wanted to produce actually your financial statements, your balance sheets, your P&L, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Citi has a pretty lengthy process. Avant, for instance, doesn't have that. I mean, Avant wants you to show your pay stubs. Avant wants you to have, let's say, last year's tax return. Let's say your 1040 or last year, and so the requirements were not really. I mean, they also want to see your. They want to see in some cases they want to see your bank statements. Okay, so you got to have a bank. So that's another bank that I really that wanted my business was actually TD Bank. The thing about TD Bank is that TD actually is great if you are trying to get a 10 grand personal loan with bad credit, but TD is geo restricted. So basically, I didn't want to have a bank that was geo restricted. Why? Because I said to myself, if I'm going to get a loan with a bank, with a traditional bank, I want to open an account at the same bank. That way, basically, I'll just be wiring money into that account, and then every month the money will come out of that account to pay the loan, right? So I said, if I'm going to TD, I need an account. Now with Avant, I did not really get a bank account because Avant doesn't offer online banking, right? So TD is geo restricted. But TD is pretty, let's say, generous too. Why? Because they'll give you a maximum of $50,000. The thing is that TD, they have a product called TD Fit Loan, and their TD Fit Loan is kind of cool because not only do they allow you to actually get a maximum of 50 grand, they're also allowing you to pre-qualify. Can you imagine? Big banks don't really allow you to pre-qualify. It's very rare. If you're thinking about a big bank like such as PNC or US Bank or Key Bank, they do not allow you to pre-qualify, but TD Bank allows you to pre-qualify. Another big bank that allows you to pre-qualify here is Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is kind of cool, but Wells Fargo was out of my league. Why? Because Wells Fargo, they give you $100,000 maximum, but they're really, really, they're too strict. So, long story short, what I'm trying to say here is that the way I borrowed 10 grand with bad credit, I went to an online lender. Now, I need to really I need to make a disclaimer. Avant is not the only online lender that will give you a 10 grand, okay? All the other lenders will also give you 10 grand if you have poor credit. The only thing is that you have to really know what kind of criterion they're paying attention to. All those big online lenders, they always have a single criterion they care about. For instance, SoFi wants to pay attention to your pay stub, right? If you take Upstart wants to pay attention to your pay stub, but also your resume. They want to see your job, like your professional history, what kind of industry you're in, what kind of potential you have. Okay, and the cool thing is they also use artificial intelligence to sort of gauge. I mean, they put the AI a lot into the whole underwriting process to see the risk profile of a borrower. So what I'm trying to say here is what, even though I ended up going to Avon to get my loan, you have to really you have to really cast a water window. Okay, don't really limit yourself to traditional banks. Big banks will disappoint you unless you have the relationship already. Same thing with credit union. They're not going to take care of you. They're not going to look at you unless you already have the relationship. Relationship means what? You have a bank account, you have a checking account, you have a savings account, you have investment account like brokerage accounts with them. Either you have it at the personal level or at the business level, right? So that's really important. That's a relationship that I always pay attention to. But so online lenders will take care of you, but they will have their criteria. So think about alternative lenders too. Now, those alternative lenders, you have two kinds. You have one kind that really is just, I mean, one kind is just, how do I say it? A loan marketplace. Like they really sort of, they really serve as a middleman between borrowers and the lenders. Okay, I'm speaking about lending club, for instance. Okay, I'm speaking about lend you on the business side. So that's one category. The second category is a direct lender. So those are direct lenders. They will lend you directly. So that's kind of cool. One thing I have to say here is that I got my 10 grand personal loan with bad credit from Avant, but the cost was just crazy. Okay, so that's something you have to really think about. Are you willing to pay a double digit APR? Are you comfortable paying 20% APR? Are you comfortable paying 25%? Because in my case, the APR was 26%, 26, 27%. I mean, it kind of varied. I mean, they reduced it after I got it. After I started paying, I started making payments every month. They reduced the APR like by 0.25%, like every year. Okay. But bottom line here is that you have to understand if you are going to get a personal loan with bad credit, once you have the lender who's willing to really work with you, the lender who's really willing to actually give you the cash, just be aware that they'll charge you double digits. Number one, number two, your double digit APR will depend on the loan term. So usually, if you have bad credit and you're getting a 10 grand personal loan, the maximum repayment window will be 5 years. So you have 60 months, right? In very rare cases, would you have 7 years? Like for instance, Wells Fargo gives you 7 years, 84 months. Also, SoFi gives you 7 years, 84 months. That's just because they're giving you a maximum loan amount of $100,000. So, but 5 years is the average, right? So your APR will end up depending on, let's say the uh, the repayment window, but also the your like how bad your credit score is. Okay, like if you have a 350, a FICO score of 350, you don't have the same profile as someone who has a FICO score of 550, right? So you have a difference to really pay attention to there. Now, one thing I want to say is that once you're comfortable paying double digit, make sure that you are repaying the loan real fast. Okay, if they give you 5 years, that's good, but don't really wait for 5 years to repay the loan unless your budget doesn't allow you to pay a little earlier. If your budget allows you to repay the loan earlier, you want to repay the loan earlier. That's how you can save on interest, but also that's how you can improve your FICO score real fast. So you can have loans with better APR, with better conditions. Why? Because there's something called DTI, your debt to income ratio, and your debt to income ratio plays an important role on your FICO score. So if your debt to income ratio goes down, your DTI goes down, your FICO score will go up. There is an inverse relationship between those two factors. So something to really pay attention to if you are going to get a loan with bad credit. One thing I want to tell you though, and this is something I thought about as I was going through the loan process to get my $10,000 personal loan with bad credit. Even though I got a loan with Avon, one thing I didn't realize, at least I thought about it, but not really deep the way I should have. Right? You got to always ask yourself if you're trying to get a 10 grand personal loan with bad credit, can you think about other let's say other options? What are the alternatives? Because this is something I should have done a little earlier. I really didn't really do it because I needed the cash real fast to take care of some business, in the family, all that kind of stuff. So, but in your case, if you have the opportunity to think about, like, let's say you're trying to get a 10 grand personal loan, but ask yourself, maybe a credit card is what I need. I mean, if I can do a balance transfer because you have like maybe you're trying to really reduce. the rate you're paying now on other debt products that you have. Maybe you can do a debt consolidation loan instead of getting a regular loan. You can get a debt consolidation loan, okay, for instance. Or I mean, if you're trying to get a debt consolidation loan, there's a lender I want to refer to you that's really good. I mean, they're really great. It's called Payoff. Okay, Payoff will take care of you, and what they do is that they will give you a loan at a very good conditions. What I want to say is that you can think about credit card, you can think about a home equity loan. Okay, it's called you can get a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit, a HELOC. Okay, so but that's if you have a property, if you have a mortgage on the property and the property has appreciated over let's say several years, then you can think about maybe getting a HELOC. A HELOC is kind of cool because if you have bad credit, basically you are going to think about double digit APR already, right? But when you have a HELOC or a mortgage, it's a collateralized loan. It's a collateralized debt product, which means what? It means that the lender is willing to give you a lower APR. Why? Because the loan is collateralized by the property. Something were to happen, they'll just repo the house. I mean, they'll just foreclose the house to repay the loan. So the APR for a collateralized loan usually is lower. You can also think about a peer-to-peer loan. So you can get a 10 grand peer-to-peer loan if you have bad credit. Okay. So a peer-to-peer loan is kind of cool also in terms of getting the loan funded faster, especially by investors. Because the peer-to-peer loan investors are funding the loan, not traditional banks, not traditional credit unions. Before I close to this conversation, I want to really talk to you a little bit about whether or not you need a 10 grand personal loan. I mean, this could be a pretty, let's say, a pretty trivial question, but it is an important question. Let me explain why. See, if you have bad credit and you need a 10 grand personal loan, once you think about the lenders to really reach out to, once you think about the repayment window, once you think about the APR, once you think about all of that kind of stuff, you got to really ask yourself one more thing, and that thing is really important. The thing is that timing, the time you apply for a personal loan is going to be critical. For instance, maybe can you wait 3 months? Can you wait 6 months? Do you need the cash right now? The reason why it's important is that when you have poor credit, every month counts. Every month counts. So if you are basically, if you could just wait 3 months, for instance, you'll be really surprised how fast your FICO score can go up. Let's say you are at 350, right? If you were to wait 3 months, you can actually go from 350 to 500. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference when it comes to APR if you are at 350 FICO score versus a 500 FICO score. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, can you wait? That's number one. Number two, you want to really go through you want to go to a lender that allows you to pre-qualify. Always pre-qualify whenever possible. Pre-qualification means what? It means that you are going through a soft pull. You're going through a soft pull. You don't have a you don't go through a hard pull right away. You go through a soft pull, and the soft pull actually determines how much you could potentially qualify for. The reason why it's good is that basically this pre-qualification process is really good because if you have poor credit, you do not want to really waste, quote unquote, waste a few points off your FICO score because your FICO score is already low, right? Your FICO score is already low, so you have to really avoid any instance that really, really, really is going to damage your FICO score even further. So what you want to do here is that you want to wait, and the more you wait, you can maybe get the better opportunity, but also pre-qualify. So those are two things that I really want to really close today's video on, so that if you are trying to get a 10 grand personal loan with bad credit, like I did, you want to go to the right lender. You want to think about timing. You want to pay attention to whether or not you can get a good rate, a good APR, but also, and that's very important, you want to look at the time you apply. Okay, a few months could make a difference. Unless you have an emergency in your house, an emergency in your family, if you can wait 3 months, you'll be really surprised how much difference those 3 months or 6 months could really have on the loan, the repayment window, but also the APR. So as a takeaway into this conversation, I'll give you my story of getting a 10 grand personal loan with bad credit. Okay. And all the steps that I took to get that loan, where I got it from Avon. Okay. And the cost that I had to really deal with, 26%. And also some alternatives to personal loans if you were in the same shoes, that like in the same journey, that I was in. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.